between master and disciples.
We invite you to listen to the following discussion by Supreme Master CHINGHAI with association members in Shihu, Formosa on December 24, 1995, titled Shiva's 112 Ways of Concentration.
Okay, last time I think I promised some of you that I would teach you the Shiva way of life. Okay, now, we heard of the Shiva, god of destruction of India, huh? I think it's a great misunderstanding of Shiva. He wasn't the god of destruction, according to what I read, yeah, what I know. He might destroy the negativities of people, yeah? He might destroy all the ugliness which sometimes accumulated within ourselves, yeah? And within him at that time, perhaps, but not to destroy any beautiful things in this planet. He's not a destroyer of goodness, virtues, and beauty, yeah? He's a destroyer of all that is undesirable, to clear the planet. Mind you, all the God has tried very hard since ancient time, but our planet is still like this. But sometimes, human nature, very, very difficult to cleanse. And that's what makes all the masters run into the Himalaya. Not the devil chase them, just the garbage of humankind. Yeah, so you see how strong it is, the garbage? The visible garbage is that strong already. Not talking about the invisible garbage that we like to keep in all the storerooms of our heart and the body parts. Shiva has a consort. Her name is Devi. Devi means goddess, no? Is that right? In India? Oh, yeah. In India they have beautiful names. Maybe that's what we should learn, Name like, all their names are holy. Devi, Deva, Purusha, Krishna, Lakshmanjula, and but he named her Devi. Perhaps the title, huh?
Perhaps that's the way they address each other.
Yeah, sometimes he addresses Devi and Lotus Eye and Loving One and Sweet Princess. In the language of such sweetness and heavenly blessing that I think we should all learn to speak with each other. The way Shiva spoke to his girlfriend or wife, it's really incredible. Such language today we hardly hear. Yes, so beautiful. He always called her all the best names that you can think of and spoke to her in such a sweet and gentle voice. Well, I imagine it was a gentle voice. Yeah, if he called her sweet princess, Lotus Eye One, he cannot say, sweet princess! So it must have been very gentle, romantic, and kind. That is the way all the husbands should speak to his beloved. Yeah. Well, it takes a long way to learn. Now, we see Shiva is supposed to be the god of destruction. Yeah, but it's not so. As I told you many times already, we have a lot of prejudice against, something that is new. Yeah, Shiva, perhaps he was a very liberal, spiritual leader of his time, too much advanced for the people of his own generation to understand, and too liberal for the conservative Indians to bear. So they call him the god of destruction, perhaps. Many bad names has also been unfortunately addressed to the god Shiva. So today, in the most reverent mood and respected heart, I'm going to tell you the way Shiva taught his disciples, so that we clear the bad names for him forever. And then we will learn in the future again to respect and to try to understand whatever gurus try to teach us. Whether it is good, then we will keep it. And if it's bad, then at least we learn something that we're not to do it. Okay? Not to do the way he does. So. And in my understanding, Shiva was teaching goodness, kind, and beauty. Yeah. So later we will prove it, okay, by some of the proof that I have searched for you, and try to make it understandable as possible in a, in the ordinary language. I cannot express them as beautiful, as romantic, and as sweet as the way Shiva did to his wife or his consort, but I try as best as I could to make you understand the teaching of the great master. Yeah? Now, one time in a great assembly, like this perhaps, and his wife, his consort, the great Devi, Mataji, and what else? Supreme Matress, matriarch of the house, yeah? Asked Shiva about spiritual practice. She herself has been greatly enlightened, and more or less as enlightened as Shiva himself. But for the sake of other people who has not been wise enough to even ask a meaningful question, so that a master can be inspired or can have the opportunity to teach them the truth, the highest, noblest ideal. So his wife had to ask the question for their sake, not that she did not understand. Being with him all her life, she must have understood. Yeah. So now, she asked him first, "O Shiva, what is our true identity? What is this wonderful universe? What makes the karma? Yeah, what constitutes the karma? Who is in the centers of the universal revolving wheel? What is this life beyond form? How many can understand the truth fully, above space and time, above names and definitions?" Wow, it's cool. So please explain, so let my doubts be cleared. What she meant was the doubt of other people, right? I want you to understand that Devi Parvati at that time was absolutely enlightened, yeah? Just like her husband. Well, if we read their story, we know, yeah? Because just like the story of Kabir's wife, you remember? Yes, they were both enlightened saints. But as a true Hindu wife and goddess, she would never in a dream put her foot in front of her husband and letting people know how great she is. It is enough that he is enlightened and be the teacher. She doesn't care to be the second one or the equal one. All the Hindu wives never in a dream does such things. Yes, they are very humble. They always stay behind and does whatever the husband told them to do. That's why, since ancient times, we have so little women masters, because, as you know, most of the sacred literature of practicing spiritually are well preserved and revered in India. And many of the great masters came from India. And many of the great masters came from different lands, but have their root of spirituality from India. You know what I mean? So, of course, men teach it men, and then men go out and spread the good news to men again. And then chosen a man here, since men is more associated with men, and so the hair will be men again. And then so the circle goes round. Because Hindu women would never try, to be assertive and to show their greatness from within or without. If there is a master already, there is one enough. She is contented to cook chapatis, to grill potatoes, and to clean the house for whoever her husband bring home as guests. When you go to India household, the wife always cooks, clean after you, and do everything to make you comfortable, while the husband will treat you as good as a guest and converse with you and try to entertain you in an intellectual or spiritual level. The wife would clean after your feet even. Clean after the food that you left on the floor and make everything comfortable for you. Never spoke to you, if not spoken to. So this is some of the very good quality of the Hindu woman that I would like to share with you, which I cannot learn yet. After Devi has asked this meaningful and deep question, Shiva lovingly replied. So what does he call her now? The first answer? Radiant One. Radiant One. Maybe in America you got apple pie, huh? Huh? Ketchup One. Or French fry. Kentucky. Kentucky French fry. We're talking about this. I have a joke for you. There were many neighbors living together in one block, a complex. And one of the wife complained to her husband first. Look here, all of our neighbor husbands call their wives in such a sweet and romantic names, and you never call me one like that. So the husband said, what did they call their wives? I never heard anything. So the wife said, the one who lives on our right, he called his wife apple pie. And the one who lives next to him called his wife sweet cherry blossom. The one who lived left to us called his wife, something else. Rosemary. Rosemary is a very fragrant kind of spice you put into your food, yeah? And the other one next to him called him my lovely pizza. Still, on and on, other people, other call him my bonsai. My precious bonsai. And the other one called, my diamond, my flawless diamond. And you never call me anything so sweet and romantic like this. So the husband shook his head and said, I'm sorry, but The one who lives on the right side, he's a baker. And the one next to him, what do you call him? Huh? Cherry blossom, huh? Okay. He's a gardener. He plants cherries, Japanese. And the one who left called his wife, Rosemary. He sold herbs. Yeah, herbal things, yeah. And the other one who called him Diamond, who called his wife Diamond because he's a jeweler. I cannot. I'm a shoe repairer. I can't call you my broken shoe. Yeah, it's good that he's not a coffee maker. Huh? My solid coffee. You know, the bury the dead in solid coffee. So make sure don't force your husband too hard, okay? In case he's not in a right profession to give you a sweetest name that you desire. Now, but you can tell your husband, learn from Shiva, huh? The god of destruction. All right. Shiva was very liberal, you know, he wears snakes and all that around his arms, and he chose a kind of symbolic of the universal, I would say, reproductive force, yeah? But what he actually meant is that all the world was created by creative force, you know, it's not the truth, it's not the highest abode of mankind, of the soul, yeah? The creativity, the force of creation, which created the universe, came through Maya. So in the old time, to talk about Maya and creativity, he has to use a very crude object, just to let the people at that time knows what he meant. How can he philosophize with them in that time, when all people knows is something very crude, very primitive, very down to earth, very daily life like examples. Just like Moses, in order to prevent people to kill each other for sacrifice, sometimes he had to allow them to kill maybe goat. If they are not disciples, what can he do? He cannot tell them, eat vegetarian, kill how you say, tofu goat. At that time they would not listen. So it is already good enough that he brought them to understanding that you should not kill another human being or a virgin or babies to sacrifice. You know, if you have to, then make a goat sacrifice. And then they will eat them, they will eat the goat anyhow. You know what I mean? Whether they kill for sacrifice or not, they will kill it somehow to eat. So he make it that way. So people understood not to kill each other. You understand? In each period of time, the master had to live, teach, and make people understand according to the people's level of consciousness and of progress at that time. You should understand clearly. But if I'm in Taiwan, I tell them, don't kill even pig. You know what I mean? Don't kill even chicken. Because it's not necessary to tell them don't kill human for sacrifice anymore. Not in Taiwan, or not in the places that I have been for preaching. No? Okay. So now, the first answer Shiva gave to his wife is this, his companion, his lifelong companion is this. Radiant one, if you like to experience the illumination, you can concentrate between the two breaths, between when the breath comes out and comes in this between time, then you will have the benefit of the illumination. Of course, what he meant is you must concentrate, yeah? When you properly, because in the daily life, this is not the one method alone, you know, although you can do that, but we should use all these 120 or maybe 112 we should use it in different circumstances in order to concentrate our mind. So sometimes, if you remember, I have also taught you, during daily activity, you should always remember, your wisdom center, but you should not concentrate on the physical breath, but in between. You know what I mean? What he means, between the two breaths, one come out and one come in, is that the non-breath, the non-breathing being, that's what we should concentrate on. That means we should always remember the Almighty, the one without breath, the one that breath is not necessary, the one that breath cannot touch. This is only for the one who already understood the way of practice. It's not to go out and to teach the lay members of the society that to concentrate between the two breaths. Of course, concentration of any kind brings benefit, but not to the extent as if we know where to concentrate. So, in our daily activities, we have a lot of work to do. So sometimes it's very difficult to just remember the wisdom center. So, in case you cannot, or in case you have to concentrate on your work, then there are ways we can convert work into practice. That's why the Buddha said there are 84,000 ways of practice, and none of them is not a practice, not a spiritual practice way. And here Shiva, to make it short, he can't just sit there and how to say, at least 84,000 ways of Dharma practice, so he make it 112. That should be enough for you and for us, for me. Okay, so what he means between the breath is that remember the non-being, the non-physical being. So when you remember, I tell you, don't concentrate on the breath, and do not pay attention to the physical sensation during initiation. I'm afraid if you concentrate on the breath, you will make like a rhythm. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And later, suddenly, someday, you experiment a state of non-breathing, and then you probably don't know where to turn to for concentration. To go further than the breath rhythm. Then you get stuck there. The second advice he gives to his wife and to all beings is this. When the breath turns from down to up, mean when you breathe out, and when you breathe in. You do not follow the breath, but when you breathe, for example, if you are an athlete, maybe you are just running or you do some errand and you have to run fast, then do not just try to give yourself up to exhaustion. For example, when you breathe too hard, like this, then you should not lose yourself in the running, but try to make use of the if you cannot concentrate on anything else because you have to run, like you have to do sport and you have in competition, then you should better just realize that the breath is coming, the breaths come out, and then try to center yourself, in the being behind all this breathing and behind all this exercising, in order to centralize yourself, to be self-centered. And at that moment, you will also be, even though running, you will also be experience enlightenment. And so, of course, it makes your work easier. I hope I understood him and explained it correctly. If not, you can tell me later. If you know something better, you tell me, okay? The third one, or in the middle of the fusion of the two breaths, try to center on that. Then you will not try to hang on to the breath, but just to remember, something to remember. And then you repeat the holy names, and then center yourself. So what he meant is, whether you're working, you're running, or you're standing, you're walking, you still always can find something to concentrate. If you happen to forget, the wisdom center, because you probably have to run. Yeah, you have to run and you have to look at the road. If you concentrate too much on the wisdom eye, maybe you forgot to look at the road, and then you become the last of the competitor instead of the first prize. Because this person do not, when he translated, perhaps he overlooked what Shiva meant inside by telling him to remember, the breathless being, or the energyless, energy field, you know what I mean? Like gate without gate, and gateless gate, and things like that. Yes, it's very difficult for anyone of any level to understand a master's secret teaching. And this is supposed to be very deep, very secret, transmitted from one master to one disciple. So the energyless energy field center, energyless energy, that can only mean the cosmos, yeah, can only mean the Almighty, the Supreme Master within every being. So even while breathing and running fast, we still have to remember that center. Yeah, if we can, of course. It's just difficult. So people say, well, when I'm running, when I'm working, it's very difficult to remember. Okay, you don't have to remember the wisdom center, but you remember the wisdom being, the wise being, the being without, running, the being that is always still. So, now, so in every action we still can try to remember. Yeah, for example, when we're running fast, we try to remember the one who is still. That is our true self, our identification. Our identity, for example, like that. Okay, the fourth advice Shiva gave to his disciples is like this. Also, when breath is all out, yeah, or all in, mean when you breathe all out, or when you inhale, just inhale enough in, and stop at that time, in the middle of that. In such a universal pose, suddenly the small self, the physical self, vanish. This is very easy at that time to realize the whole purity of true self. That's what the translation is supposed to mean. Huh? All right. So, in this, what he meant is, before you breathe out again, or before you breathe in, even in those instants, we have to remember the purity of our true being. He said, but it is very difficult. If you are impure, you will not remember that. You will always follow the breath in and out, or follow your exhaustion of the body, and then forget completely the true identification of our beings. All right. The fifth way to remember is that, now, sometimes you forget, right? So you try to remember by considering your own essence as light, and it come in, saturating throughout your body. Yeah. At that time, you try, by remembering so, you will awake the liveliness within yourselves. Awaken the true life force within ourselves again. So at least try to consider, to remember that you are the light. Remember the experience you have when you meditate on the light and you saw the light. So at that time when you cannot meditate on the light, at least try to remember, to consider that you are the light. On the six ways to remember, all the teaching here is just a way to try to defeat your mind's wandering tendency, everyday life. So in every situation, there are many ways to try to grip the mind back. You see, that's why he teach the disciples so many ways to control the mind. Because if you let the mind free for 1 second, it will think of all kind of garbage. Therefore, there are 112 ways to catch the mind every day. So you use one after another, perhaps. You always try to remember the holy essence of our true being. The sixth advice is that. So sometimes, perhaps, when it rains, according to here, in the space between the lightning, between the different lightnings, sometimes in the storm, the lightning comes one after another, right? So in between that, feel yourself as such powerful as the lightning of the universe. Even in the rain, you can remember God. You can remember your own identity. That's perhaps what the Master meant. And we try to make the best translation out of it. Okay? Interpretation. Yeah. Now, continue further. He spoke to her sweetly again. Devi. He called her goddess. Yeah. Goddess. Imagine. You can also try to remember God or to be enlightened by imagining the Sanskrit letters first as they are letters. For those Americans, I don't think you should imagine the Sanskrit letters, but the alphabet. It would be wiser for us. Yeah. First imagine them one by one as letter, as physical letter. But later, try to perceive more as sounds. Yeah, like A, B. And don't have to speak out loud, but try to perceive them as the silent sounds. And then transcends the sound. We enter the feeling. Try to feel the letters, vibration, instead of hearing the sound or seeing the written words. Is that clear? Okay. Suppose you are a teacher. You have to teach ABC or English, then perhaps in some moment of the repose, right? Yes, you probably cannot concentrate right away, or you have to have a lunch break, and your mind is still full of A, B, C, D, E, F. Then you make use of that as well. Turn around and meditate on it. At least you concentrate. You know what I mean? Suppose your mind is always full of work and you can't just in a moment of silence become immediately tuned in back to the awareness that you desire. Then we make use of the situation, yeah, and turn that into a concentration method. And meditate, concentrate, until we can be aware again of our awareness. And we are back to our control again. Suppose, you see, just like the American people say, if somebody gives you lemon, make lemonade out of it. What else can you do? It's too sour. So we add some sugar and make it into a refreshing drink. So similarly, our mind is a wandering horse all the time. So in every situation, we have to try to use his own wandering power to turn it back into our own advantages of concentration. Like yesterday, we say, the weeds in the garden. If we cannot weed them out, then love them. Or try to make something else. Try to make salad out of the dandelion leaves. Yeah, they make excellent salad and very nutritious. In fact, in Germany now, because it's so much developed, the wild land is very hard to find. So those dandelion are a rare species. And so if you want to buy them in the market, it's expensive. Sanskrit letters, first as the written word, and then as the sounds, and then as a feeling, and then after, finally, leave all of them and be free. Free of all thinking or imagination or feeling or nothing. Just sit there and enjoy. Okay? All right. Now, number 8. Suppose you have a moment of freedom, yeah, and too short to do the light meditation. Then you can concentrate between the eyebrows, as you know, you know where, huh? Yeah, wisdom center perhaps. And let your mind concentrate on the space before every thought arises. You know where it is, yeah? Before all thinking started, before all desire sprout up, concentrate on that. Perhaps in a Buddhist term, we call it emptiness, huh? Empty space. Or we call them the mindless place, yeah? Things like that, or the gateless gate. All right. And then, whatever form supposed to come to your mind at that time, or maybe your own form, let it be filled with the universal life force. Imagine, maybe. And then you take a shower in this light, in this essence of the universe. Understand? Like you are taking a shower, but not the shower of water, but the shower of the universal light, of the universal blessing and, illumination. So in every circumstances, we can always try to illuminate ourselves by using the circumstance, by using the busyness that we are at that moment, and be at the present time. That's the best situation. Okay. So in all the mundane activities, we can always practice. There's no need to say, I don't have time. You can. Whenever you can, you do it. And whenever you cannot, you do it as you are working. Turn your work into meditation. Concentrate on the force behind all the works, behind all the running, behind all the activities. Then you will always find something to meditate upon. And there is always plenty times. Because we can use the time of every situation for concentrating. Yeah, you got it now? Now, number 9. You can liken your 5 senses as the 5 colors of the peacock tail, and then spread them all over the space. Just spread the 5 color peacock tails all over the universe. Fill them with colors. Fill the universe with color. But these colors are supposed to be your 5 senses. You understand? Perhaps smelling, tasting, touching, these senses. Okay. Now, because of the peacock tail color is very colorful and very beautiful, so you let these colors and beauty melt within yourself. And then anytime you feel that there is a limit, you spread them out until there's no more limit left. In that case, you dissolve all the frontier within your mind. And then, thus, whatever you wish well for other people will come true. So that's how you convert your power into limitless use. And that's how you can bestow benefit on countless beings and be of kind of a benefactor to all kind of people who surround you or who come in contact with you or whom you're praying for. Okay? You can also close your eyes, yeah, and try to see your inner being in all details. And thus, while you're concentrating on the inner being, then you will see your true nature. Try to understand if you can. If whatever the method you cannot use, just leave it. And number 11, place your whole attention in your nerves, yeah? And you should know that the nerves are so delicate as the thread of the lotus within the lotus itself. And thus, you will transform your physical being. What he meant is, if it's so difficult to control the mind and try to make him concentrate on such a delicate pattern, just as the nerves in our body. You understand what I mean? Because you have never seen them before. So it is very difficult for the mind to imagine all these nerves, and it's good for him. It serves him well. So that he will have no time to wander around and doing anything else. Yeah? Suppose maybe for many people it is suitable for them to be complicated like that. Yes? Because not all beings are alike. Not all people are the same. So if for everybody to try to concentrate, he probably use a different kind of concentration at different situation. In the Himalaya, perhaps you don't need all this complication. You only look at the snow, and then you froze. You froze in time and space. And the mind cannot run anywhere else. Because after a while, he used to with emptiness, whiteness, and of the emptiness of the mountain. There's nothing there for him to fancy. After some time, perhaps all the desired, all the habitual patterns that recorded in the mind will be exhausted, empty. And then he doesn't fill it back in with newspapers or television or bad movies. Then it stays at least half empty. That's why many masters favor Himalaya or the desert. Yes, I stay in the desert myself too. It was beautiful for sometimes, maybe 2 weeks. Because in the desert where I stayed there was no house, no water, no electricity. There is water, but we have to go and fetch it back. It's not directly from the tap like that. And there's nothing in that desert. Only dry shrubs here and there, and mouse. And, we have rabbit. The desert rabbit is so small, you can't imagine. You would thought it's a mouse. Yeah, pretty small, but looks like a rabbit. All right. Number 12. Closing the 7 openings of the head with your hands. And then the space between your eyes will become all-inclusive. All this is boiled down to wisdom center. A different way of, talking about it. Just like I talk so many things, but it boiled down always to Guanyin method. I go to make different lectures, different tempting dishes, but only after at the end I give them only one, Guanyin method and the light. Because in the old time, perhaps people don't sleep so much like this time. And in this time, people have, air condition and heating system, so it's very comfortable. So people tend to be too comfortable. So we have to use many more methods. So he say, and number 13, he say, if you cannot concentrate while meditating, perhaps, then you can touch your eyeball slightly, light as the feather. Yeah. And then maybe at that time you will see the light. Yeah, I think so. What he says was for the old time people. But nevertheless, you may try. You cannot concentrate. The effort that you use with your fingers to touch your eyeballs as light as a feather, it must be concentration. You know what I mean? It's just a trick to bring your mind back into focus. So it's pretty good, huh? So when you are already, all kind of topsy-turvy thinking back and forth from Germany to America, if you can even be concentrated enough to put your hand as light as a feather to put on there, as, light as a feather, then at least you're back again, to the meditating business. So I think the master was very clever, huh? Shiva was very, very clever. He destroyed all kind of bad habits and negativity within us, using all kind of method. Yeah. Now, number 14. Bathe in the center of a sound, the continuous sound such as waterfall, or maybe seashore. Yeah. Or if you cannot, because sometimes in the public, then you cannot do the Kuan Yin, Then if you are at the seaside, perhaps you bathe yourself in the sound of the universe, of the nature. Like when you are next to the Nicaragua fall, then you concentrate on the sound until you merge within the essence behind the waterfall, behind nature. There is the force behind all trees and waters and rivers and rocks and mountains. Then you concentrate behind that. By hearing the sound of the waterfall and concentrate on the force behind that, you will merge within the cosmos again. Or if not, if you can, then do the Kuan Yin. He says so. Or do the Kuan Yin and hear the sound of all sounds. You know now what that is. Okay? Now, on number 15, intone a sound like the names of, and let it be very slow, repeating slowly, and enter the soundlessness, and become yourself. Sometimes you remember, you say you can't concentrate, and you are disturbed, and this and that and other. So I would advise you to repeat the holy names for sometimes, maybe 15 minutes, maybe half an hour, maybe an hour. Number 16. So you have to practice. There's no need to listen all the time, but to bring what you have heard into practice. Because we are used with listening, hearing, and so we cannot accept the silence. Very difficult. Like the 4 monks who vowed to have a silent retreat for 7 days. But then when they sit together, and then suddenly there's a monk who spoke up saying, in this retreat, you should remember, none of us can speak anything. And then the second one said, why are you speaking now? And the third one, my God, you both broke the precept. And the fourth one said, I never said anything. I'm the only one who haven't spoken at all. All right. I'm also the only one who never spoke here. Okay. Suppose it's difficult for you to concentrate again. You may choose any of a letter, and try to follow through with the beginning and the gradual refinement of the sound of that letter, and then be awake. Perhaps when you're sleeping, and then try to awaken yourself. Very difficult. So try to do something new, like inventing a letter, an A or an Om or something, and try to follow through in the beginning as, only in your mind. Don't disturb neighbor. If you're alone, you can. Then you follow through with first very crude sound of the letter by spelling it out in your mind or loudly, and later finally refine it until silence. At that time, then you'll be awake, perhaps, or awakened, or at least awake from your samadhi. Number 17. While listening to any string instruments, try to hear the composite central sound and thus become omnipresent, or at least be one with the omnipresence, or at least remember the omnipresence. Because when we go to the concert, or go to theater, perhaps it's difficult to concentrate on the light. Then you won't see anything. So you have to listen to the music. But then try, while listening to the music, try to remember the central note, the noteless note of all the music. And then at that time, perhaps you will enter the omnipresent as well. So while you're watching the theater going on, or while listening to the music, you are within yourselves and not lost in the merriment of the ephemeral nature of the world. Now, number 18, you can concentrate or divert your mind from all this topsy-turvy thinking by intoning a sound audibly, and then less and less as your feeling deepens into this silent harmony. First you intone audibly, and then less audibly, until you enter the silence and become harmonized with the universe. That's just how you concentrate sometimes. We can concentrate on our 5 holy names in this way. The mind always wants to go somewhere and do something inside. So we stop him right where we remember, and turn around, concentrate. Probably at that moment he was thinking of ice cream. So if you continue to follow him, he will bring you to the ice cream shop next. And then will empty your pocket and your time into that ice cream cone again. So the moment he think of ice cream, if you are meditating or at home, and if you don't want to go out in the cold weather to fetch ice cream, if you don't want to waste your time on that, or if you say tomorrow I go to town and by the way I will feed you ice cream, and that's how we turn around and have victory over the wandering mind. Number 19, you can also concentrate by imagining the spirit simultaneously within and around you until the entire universe become spiritualized. Sometimes when you meditate, you cannot have your mind settle down so quickly. Then just fantasize for a while. I imagine that the Master is around you. Imagine that the Supreme Master within you are all over the universe, and then enter that spiritualized personality of the inner Master. Then you also feel comfortable. At least your mind has something to think about. It has something to think all the time. So make him think what you want. Instead of let him think of all kind of worries and anxieties and all kind of useless things that we can never do anything about. Yeah, we let him think of the Master. Imagine the grand spirit of the Master is within us, without us, surround us, and all over space and time, until we enter that spirit. Then we are in samadhi anyhow, right? So that's how we use the mind's ability to defeat the mind itself.